In 2017, a woman stood over a coffin and said goodbye to her husband. She was certain. Her family was certain. The body matched. The timing matched. There was nothing to doubt. The body was cremated within days. A year later, her husband walked through the front door. This is a true story and one of the strangest cases of mistaken identity police have ever had to publicly explain. To understand how something like this happens, you have to understand how identification actually works when someone goes missing. It's not like the movies. There's no instant fingerprint match, no dramatic reveal under bright lights. In most cases, especially when a body has been in water for days, visual identification comes down to the people who knew the person best, their family. That's exactly what happened here. It started with a missing persons report in Tokyo. A man in his early 40s had vanished without warning. No note, no explanation, no contact. His family did what any family would do, they reported him missing and waited, hoping for news that wouldn't be devastating. 3 days later, they got news. Just not the kind anyone wants. A body was pulled from a river in eastern Tokyo. Male. Similar age. Similar build. The timing lined up almost exactly with when their relative had disappeared. Police brought in the wife, along with 2 other relatives, to make the identification. All 3 of them said the same thing. This was him. Think about what that moment actually requires. You're not looking at a photograph. You're standing in front of a body that's been affected by time and the water, and you are being asked, in the middle of unbearable grief, to make the single most consequential identification of your life. Under that kind of pressure, with that kind of certainty from everyone around you, doubt doesn't usually survive. There was no reason for police to question it either. 3 separate people, all saying the same name. The age matched. The build matched. The timing matched. By every standard investigators normally rely on, this was a closed case. The body was released to the family. They held a funeral, exactly as tradition required. And then, because it's customary, the body was cremated. There was no going back after that. Whatever evidence existed, whatever chance there might have been to catch the mistake through further testing, disappeared with the cremation. Life continued. A wife mourning a husband who, as far as she and everyone around her knew, was truly gone. Friends offering condolences. A name added to a family record. Grief, slowly, becoming something people learn to carry rather than something that consumes them entirely. Except none of it should have happened. Because he wasn't dead. In May of the following year, nearly a full year after the funeral, the man walked back into his own life. Alive. Unharmed. Very much not a man who had drowned in a river the previous summer. Try to imagine that reunion for a moment. Not a joyful surprise homecoming. A wife who had already grieved, already said goodbye, already rebuilt a version of her life around his absence, suddenly facing the man she had buried, standing in front of her, alive. When police were informed, they were left with 2 enormous, uncomfortable questions. First, if this man had been alive the entire time, who exactly did they cremate? And second, where had he actually been for an entire year? Police never fully answered either question publicly. When journalists pushed for details about where the husband had spent those 12 months, officers gave no real explanation. Not vague details. No explanation at all. Just silence where an answer should have been. What we do know is this: the body pulled from the river belonged to another man, someone else who had also been reported missing around the same time, close enough in age and build that 3 people who loved a completely different person mistook him for their own family member. That means somewhere, there was another family. A real family, waiting for news about their own missing relative, never knowing that he had already been found, misidentified under someone else's name, and cremated before anyone realized the mistake. Tokyo police eventually acknowledged the error publicly. They apologized. They said the remains would be returned to the correct family once the true identity was established, and that they would review their identification procedures going forward. This isn't even the only time something like this has happened. In the United States, a man named Frankie Carrigan was mistakenly declared dead by a coroner's office after a body was misidentified using nothing more than an 11-year-old driver's license photo, no fingerprints, no DNA, nothing scientific to confirm it. A stranger was buried in his family's plot. Carrigan, like the man in Tokyo, was alive the entire time. His family later won over $1 million in damages after suing for the mistake. 2 continents. 2 completely unrelated cases. The same impossible situation, a family burying the wrong person, convinced beyond doubt that they were saying goodbye to someone they loved. But the Tokyo case has a layer the American case doesn't. Carrigan's family never claimed he'd been anywhere unusual, the mistake was entirely on the coroner's side. In Tokyo, the questions run in both directions. Not just how the identification went wrong, but where the husband was, and why, for an entire year, he let his own wife grieve him without a single word. Nobody has ever answered that second question. Not publicly. Not fully. Somewhere in Tokyo, there's a family who spent a year mourning the wrong man, their actual missing relative sitting unidentified and already cremated under a name that wasn't his. And somewhere else in that same city, there's a husband and wife living with a silence neither of them has ever fully explained to the outside world, a year that happened, and that no one outside that household has ever heard the truth about. Sometimes the most unsettling part of a true story isn't the mistake itself. It's the year of silence that came after it, the part no one has ever been willing to explain. This video is based on real reported events. Some details have been adapted for narrative clarity. Sourcing is linked in the description.